Well, welcome again to Chino Y Chicano, our Apple Cup episode.
I'm Matt Chan, the Chino.
I'm Enrique Cerna, the Chicano, and we are fortunate to have joining us two college football greats who quarterback their respective teams in the Apple Cup. From the University of Washington, Sonny Sixkiller, and from Washington State University, the Throwin Samoan, Jack Thompson. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it very
thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
All right. So
Good to hear
Jack,
your voice, Jack.
Yeah, he couldn't show his face, I guess.
Or maybe he didn't want to show his face.
Jack in a long time. It's always good to hear his voice.
Yeah, he doesn't have that big, Samoan fro that he had from back in the day, but it's a nice
guy.
There he is.
Oh, there he is. Jack.
I don't have the fro.
You don't have the fro. But,
Close enough.
Joining us from are you in your pickup or car or what are you in?
I'm in my pickup.
Oh, okay, cool, nice. Well, hey, you look good. He's got his, Washington State stuff on. Okay, I got to ask you this, Jack. So, reading up on you, you actually wanted to be a Husky, but they didn't court you, right? But back in the day, you were a Sonny Sixkiller fan. So, did you
big time?
Yeah, and did you have a Sonny Sixkiller jersey? Did you have a six?
I had a number 6 jersey. It was a purple jersey with number 6, and then on the sleeves it had 2 gold stripes. I don't know if you remember that, Sonny.
Yeah.
But I wore that. I proudly wore that to high school, and he was the man. He wasn't just my hero. He was a hero to thousands of people in this area, certainly where I grew up. So everything that Sonny did, we tried to copy.
Yeah, so. The legend, Sonny Sixkiller. Sonny, I went to high school in Wapato, Washington, outside of Yakima. Dan Dornick went to my high school. He was about 3 years. In fact, the field is named after him. Anyway, I think you played with him, didn't you, Jack?
He's my halfback. He's my halfback.
Anyway, so I remember my senior year, our football coach got a hold of some practice footage of you. And actually all of the footage was of you. So we sat there and watched Sonny Sixkiller for about a half hour on tape. Just, actually it was like 8mm film, but so we're all kind of like, thinking like, man, this guy is cool. You love the 6 and he's just throwing passes left and right. So you were kind of a statewide hero. I just want you to know it wasn't
he
just
was.
Yeah. So, and we're making you feel real old right now, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, it's all timing. There was nothing else going on at the time. I mean, there were no Seahawks.
Yeah, true.
That's true.
None of those things were happening. So it was college was all you had, and we weren't on television very much in those days. So it was all you tuned to the little transistor radio and pick up the games, right, Jack? And
and when he got on the cover of Sports Illustrated, it just blew up. The legend of Sonny Sixkiller blew up, and everyone wanted to be just like Sonny.
Yeah, it was tough to go to Herfy's and get a burger. I mean,
Herfy's in the U District. I remember that. Oh, good Lord!
It's interesting. I mean,
not only
you guys legendary, right? I mean, nationally, you're legendary. The both of you have the best moniker. I mean, Sonny Sixkiller. I mean, how awesome is that?
Yeah.
The Throwin Samoan. I mean, that immediately is legendary.
Yeah.
So, since you're talking about the Apple Cup, what are your guys' respective records in the Apple Cup?
How would you ask that question?
Is that painful, Jack?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you guys. Lost you. Hello. I was a fat 0-3. To be very candid with you.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that I'm not one to with excuses, but that was back in just dark days of Washington State. We had 4 head coaches in 4 years, and it was just so tough to get some consistency. And one thing we didn't have, we had great first line players for sure, with Dan Dornick and Mike Levenseller, Brian Kelly. I can go on and on, but we had no depth whatsoever. And then by the time at the end of the season, where you go up against a Don James coach team, get out of here. I mean, they were a bulldozer, It was tough to play against them, but I loved playing against them because you knew we were playing against the best. And I hate to admit that, but that was the fact.
Yeah. Yeah, they were turning it around then, that's for sure. By the
big
time
time,
you came
big
in.
time.
Yeah.
So how about you, Sonny? What's your record?
2-1.
Ah,
2-1.
Yeah, we won the first 2 years and we lost in Spokane, Joe Albee, my senior year.
Yeah.
I was a sophomore that year at Joe Albee watching that game. You guys,
Beautiful stadium.
Yeah.
Gorgeous stadium.
Oh yeah, hey,
Yeah.
the best, the jewel of the Northwest.
It was a pit, wasn't it?
Yeah,
wasn't that? It was just
the locker rooms look like something you'd see at the worst city park in Seattle. You know, it was terrible.
Oh, Sonny, you're being really kind now. Stop.
Well, and then the fields back then, the turf was like it was concrete.
It was asphalt painted green. That place was terrible. Yeah. And Sonny's just being the classy guy that he is. It was terrible. It was terrible.
You know, my sophomore year we played over there, and it was probably about, I think the wind chill made it minus degrees.
Yeah.
And that field looked like a sheet of ice. I ain't kidding you. It looked like we were playing on ice. And I remember getting hit and going out of bounds. Jack, remember that I had a little wall or something on the sideline?
It was really close to the benches.
Yeah. So I got slid out of bounds and hit that wall with the ball in my left hand. I thought I broke every bone in my hand hitting that wall. I couldn't feel it for like a half. It's crazy.
No,
yeah.
Sonny, talking about. Oh, sorry, but I was just going to say in the game, Apple Cup of '77, played against Warren Moon and that team. They ended up going to the Rose Bowl. You're talking about a sheet of ice, Sonny, which is really unlike Seattle. It was icy. It was, the temperatures, I think, was 12 degrees.
Yeah.
And I see some of the highlights, or in our case, lowlights. But I would drop back. I felt like I was ice skating.
Yeah.
And everything I threw was off my back foot, and it was just ridiculous. And the Huskies had a hell of a defense, and they had fun with us. Let me just put it that way.
Michael Jackson, all the boys.
Michael Jackson,
right.
Antoine Richardson.
Right.
The list goes on and on. Antoine, I could have sworn Nesby. Antoine, I swear, got his start in singing in that game.
Yeah.
That's all he did was singing, "Hey Jackie, hey Jackie." But those guys they were a fun bunch to play against. They're tough, but we all became good friends off field. I loved, God rest Nesby's soul. He was a wonderful guy, and great names.
Yeah, Antoine went on to sing with a group locally called The Main Attraction. They were an a cappella group. He was a really good singer.
They were really good.
Yeah, actually, he still is a good singer. Sonny, when you in your Apple Cup games, were they close games, or I know that the one years,
always competitive games. You knew that going into the Apple Cup. I never played. I'd never played in a game where it was a big loss, either in high school or whatever. Never have. And certainly when you played Cougs, it was always a hard-fought battle. And I think it was probably within at least less than 10 points. Cougs beat us bad my senior year over there, 27-10. But that was probably the most lopsided score in either way.
And you guys actually, I was in the stands for that game, and the Huskies were kicking butt for the first half. And then
we were up 10-0 at halftime.
Yeah, and then you guys came, and then the Cougs came back in the second half.
All kinds of things happened in the second half, and give them credit. That's why you play two halves, right, Jack? I mean, you never know.
That's right.
So
there are many second halves I didn't want to play. Those guys are beating the crap out of me. But you finish it out, and they were still very, very fun to play in.
What does this game mean? I mean, you guys, obviously you got a chance to play in it, but all these years later, does it still have that? I don't know. Rivalry games can be so unpredictable, and you never know what really is going to happen until they hit the field. And but I've been to enough Cougar games to know that you're kind of praying that something good was going to happen. But
there's a word for that, Enrique. There's a word for that.
oh yeah,
I don't want to hear it, Sonny. Sonny, keep it to yourself, Sonny.
Yeah. We're banning that word on this this episode.
But to answer that from my perspective, it's as players, you played the game and you know how hard it is and how tough it is to go out in the field and play. And I think the fans probably get into it a lot more than some of the former players, just because they weren't there. And but they get bragging rights, right?
Right.
Because they grew up with kids that went to Wazoo, Eastern Washington. We have a lot of kids that come to the UW from Eastern Washington. Yeah. So it's a lot of get back home for Thanksgiving, and Christmas, and you get to brag a little bit about the game. And I don't really brag too much about the outcome too much. I just let it go. Win or lose, it's the way it is, at least with me.
Well, I to coattail off of what Sonny just said, I agree. It's the fan base that gets more out of it. For us Cougs who live here on the west side in Seattle, I will say that the Husky fans have a way of making sure that it. But I've always thought if you just keep your mouth shut. If you get beat, you just keep your mouth shut. And even if you win, it'd be best to keep your mouth shut. And but it's bragging rights. And I will say that the times that Cougs win, it's nice to be in Seattle for that year, right? Because for some reason, when I'm walking around, I don't know about Sonny, but I don't think Sonny has this happen to him. But there are a lot of Husky friends who take it upon themselves to go out of their way to say things to me. That's just the nature. I'll be in. I've never met this guy. I'm in an elevator, and they'll take it upon themselves. Hey, you guys, you drop that word that we're banning here, and I look at him and I say, dude, I don't even know you, and it's just fans of the term fan comes from fanatics, right?
Right,
it's true.
Right.
And anyway, but it's something that I know the Cougs look forward to it because for us, we're down. We're in a deficit of like 8 straight or something like that,
right.
and we have to break this. We have to break this string, and so until we do, just keep our mouth shut and go out. Keep our mouth shut. Go out there and do the number.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this year,
I get a lot of people doing that too, Jack. I get.
Oh, I bet you do. Yeah.
The Go Cougs. I don't. Wherever. Remember. I was at a game with my wife and Moose Clausen at the Mariners, sitting up with him at the right, good old Moose. And we're walking down to our seat. And excuse me. Guy goes, "Go Cougs." I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
I said, "Excuse me." What the hell?
Hey, I have to drop this story. I was at an Apple Cup. I think it was the year that we won to go to the Rose Bowl. But this is so help me. This happened. I was standing outside of Heck Ed, right, Sonny? That's where the players come out.
Yeah.
So I was just standing out there, and I had a black jacket on or something like that, and the Cougs won. And one of the few times that we did in the Husky Stadium, and the Cougs were walking by, and some guy yells out, "Hey, there's Sonny." They pointed at me. There's Sonny. And I turn and I'm thinking, where's Sonny? Where's Sonny? And they're pointing at me. And, again, we won. And you suck, Sonny. Dude, what? What an idiot. He was one of mine. He was one of my guys.
Oh boy, that's bad. That's good. That's really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it. It just came full circle, right? My hero, and they're telling me I suck.
So this year, after, I mean, both programs, right, have gone through a tumultuous year. I mean, I've never seen it like this, and for both institutions to go through this. this Apple Cup is either going to be a healing thing, or it's just going to be an end to whatever this crappy year, right?
Yep.
So what do you think's at stake for these guys? What's going through each of the teams' minds? I mean, because this is more than just the Apple Cup this year.
Yeah. Well, I think for the Dogs, this is their bowl game. Obviously, they didn't qualify to go postseason. So I would think that the coaching staff is like, hey, fellas, this is your bowl game. You better bring it. This is it. Whereas the Cougs, they're going to a bowl game. And they want to end on a high note and maybe even do something for Coach Jake to get consideration for staying on. Because I think he's done a great job with those kids to keep them together. And Bob Gregory, the former Coug, and now here is our interim head coach. I think he's doing a good job too. You look at our losses; we're not getting blown out by anybody.
Right.
You know, it's usually our own mistakes that have cost us. And so, I think it's a big game for the Huskies. I mean, it's end on a high note, win your bowl game, and get to 5 wins. And let's get over this season. And after the pandemic here, you have a year like this. This is 2 years. Let's get over it.
Yeah,
Move
it's
forward.
about pride, right? It's about pride.
Yeah, it is. I think so. I mean, a lot of those kids haven't performed to what the preseason expectation was. So they got to be reeling from that a little bit, I would gather. But, Jack, it's just like, I always look forward to the last game of the year. And because when I played, if you won the league, you could go to a bowl game.
That's right.
If you came in second, you couldn't.
Exactly.
Right? And they didn't change that till like 1976. And then we had like 8 teams go to bowl games. I'm going, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly. You could have gone to a bowl, three bowl games.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Bob Surratt used to say, Sonny, if we could have gone, we'd have gone 3 years in a row. The new stadium here would have been built the year that we did it, not in 1987. There was a lot of things that hurt everybody in the league. I felt so. That was too bad.
For the Cougs, this game means everything. This would be the cherry on top of the ice cream cone in that cherry on the cake, whatever that is, that terminology is. But that's my Samoan coming out of me. Anyway, the seasons began so tough. You remember this, Enrique? We didn't know what the hell was going to happen with our head coach,
right?
And he made a choice that started a chain reaction of things, and not the least of which, a lot of people were going crazy, right. And what I was worried about, what was going to happen, to our team. And this senior class, I will have to say, this is one of the best senior classes we have ever had. They have dealt with some of the weirdest things. 3 coaches in 2 years. They had 2 of their teammates die, and just a myriad of crazy things. And they have been able to come together, and they literally played for each other. And it's been fun to see. And to Sonny's point, I think that Jake Dickert has done a hell of a job in spite of a lot of stuff. And they were chosen to be to come in last in the Pac-12 North. And here we are. If we should win and Oregon State beats Oregon, we go to the Pac-12 championship. And so that, in anybody's book, is a magnificent year. And plus, on top of that, this senior class can exercise some serious demons, having lost. They've not been on a team to beat the Huskies. So there are a lot of things riding on this for this team, for this group of seniors. And I couldn't be more proud of these guys and how they stayed together in spite of some really crappy situations.
Yeah. And the Huskies as well. I mean, losing your coach, having things go sideways. Suddenly it was WSU having all the negative media attention, and then it was on the Dogs. Sonny, I got to say that the coaches that took over at the U, and you know them well, but they have done a heck of a job just keeping that team together. I mean, they've they've had some tough games here, but that's got to be a tough thing to try to keep a group of guys together, to keep them playing.
It is when you fire your coordinator, in the middle of the season.
Right.
That's tough for sure. But, the other factor that's really, for the Huskies anyway, has been injuries. It's been a lot of injuries this year. Guys are missing Kate Otten, last 2 games. And he's probably the premier tight end, or one of them in the pack. And, he's missed like 5 games this year. So there's another example of expectations being this high and not, unfortunately, not really seeing the results.
Yeah.
So it's been a tough year. It's time to move on. Let's get this game over with and come up victorious, be our bowl game, and go on to the next year and hire a new coach. I'm sure within the next couple of weeks. I think they're trying to get that done by the 15th of December, and see what happens. There's a lot of programs out there that don't have a head coach right now.
Yeah,
around the country.
There's going to be a lot of competition for coaches. There's no doubt about that. Let's step back a bit, back to the time when you guys were playing. Jack, I mentioned the fact that you actually wanted to be a Husky, but because you didn't get a visit from with Sonny's former head coach was Jim Owens, you decided you felt disrespected for your family, and you decided then to go to WSU.
Well, it wasn't about me. I didn't feel that. I felt my parents were disrespected.
Right.
Because you have to understand that when I came in 1960, my dad was here. He came to America in 1957. I was 1 year old, and he made a living here in Seattle. He made our home here in Seattle. Then he got enough money to send for me, and from 1960 on, he taught me about this thing called the Huskies at Montlake, right? And we would watch every game that we were able to watch, and then on Sundays they had the Jim Owens show,
right.
Coach's show, in black and white. We would watch that every Sunday, and that's how I learned how to speak English. Just watching, and listening and learning, TV and watching football. And then you fast forward to 1973 when I was a senior, and I was known as a lay down recruit. You didn't have to waste any time, monies, or energies to get me, because they knew I was going to be a Husky, and that was the truth. But what happened was, it just, I think they took it literally, and Coach Owens, called me twice. He was on the road. I'm going to come and see you. I'm going to meet your parents. And my dad was just chomping at the bit to meet Coach Owens. And he chose not to show up. And, again, it wasn't me. And I told this to Coach Owens when I had my meeting with him face to face. And he asked me if I was, you ready to put on the purple and gold? I said, well, I can't. And he said, what are you talking about? And I said, you could have done anything to me, I'd be here. But when you did that to my mom and dad, and then Coach Owens, and Sonny, this about Coach Owens. He was an intimidating guy, at least for guys like me. He said, get the hell out of my office.
Whoa.
Yeah. But you have no idea how bummed out I was, because I wanted to follow and this is the truth. I've never said this in a format like this. I wanted badly to follow in Sonny's footsteps, to be very frank with you, because of what he did there, and he gave belief in guys like me, this brown kid out of White Center, Washington. I can do that, and I kid you not. And if Sonny wasn't there, and I wore his jersey religiously, and finally my mom says, "Would you please wash that thing?" But
well, Jack uses it to wax his car now.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But the bottom line was that that's the truth. I wanted to be a Husky. That's just a fact. But you know what? I have no regrets. Going to Washington State University was the best thing to happen for me. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Sonny, I grew up, like I mentioned, in Wapato. We were on the Yakima reservation, Yakima Indian reservation. So I'm a Mexican guy, but I have to tell you, all the Filipino Mexican guys, they thought you were real cool because we saw somebody that was brown playing football.
Yeah.
Yep.
And at a high level, and your name, your number, you hit national television, you were on cover of Sports Illustrated. For guys like us, that meant something to see somebody. And Jack, you too. I mean,
Hey,
seeing the Samoan guys out there.
Enrique, seriously, Sonny had this thing about him. You use this term now a couple times when in talking about Sonny, but it's so true. Sonny was cool. he was, the way he walked on the field, the way he threw. There's something about him. He was different. White, black, doesn't matter. He was just different. He was a cool cat. And Sonny, I never told you this, did I?
No.
But just the way he carried himself and the way he wore his uniform. Seriously, these were things that made an impression. It certainly made an impression on me. Yeah. And so I'm glad to be able to say this. I'm giving my confession here in front of you guys.
Jack, better late than never. Okay.
Right. He was just a cool dude. Yeah. Out on that field. So I'm grateful for that.
Well, I have to say that over the years, I still, even today, get letters from all over the country, and people sending me the Sports Illustrated, Boys Life. I don't know where they come up with these pictures, to be honest with you, that they print out and have them send to me and have them sign and send back. And I go, God, that's a cool picture. Where the hell did they get that? I've never seen it before. And it's just amazing. And I think it is that reason that a lot of these fans are older. They're nearly our age, Jack, that were either here or I had one guy who moved out here. I was at a Raise the Wolf, preseason event. He goes, hey, here's my son. He's like 30 something. He goes, we weren't Husky fans. And I went to watch you play Purdue in West Lafayette, Indiana, because that's where I lived at the time. And we became Husky fans that day. And 3 years later, we moved to Seattle, and we've been Husky fans ever since. Those kind of stories are amazing to me.
Yeah.
And I just think that I think it goes back to being one of the few minorities to play quarterback position in the 1970.
Oh yeah, totally huge.
Yeah, I think that SC had a black quarterback. Jimmy something, I can't remember his last name.
Yeah, was it Jimmy Jones or I can't remember?
Yes,
yeah.
Jimmy Jones.
Yes.
Yeah, he was another one. Of course, Jim Plunkett.
Right, Mexican American.
Yeah. Yep. So there were a few, but nationally there weren't that many.
No. I think Joe Cap. Few people remember him as. Of course, he was back in the '60s. Tom Flores, things like that. But there weren't. I think you really kind of broke a barrier there, and
you did for all of us.
You didn't want to be on the Sports Illustrated cover. Why, Sonny?
It goes back to I was the consummate team guy. I've told other people this since it did happen, and it's still out there, and people sending it to me all the time. It's amazing. I tell young people, Jack, when I talk to young Native kids, I said, hey, you know what? You gotta do what you gotta do when you're growing up, because you only get one shot. You're out partying on a weekend in high school. You better think twice, because when my dad said 11 o'clock, I was home at 11 o'clock. And everybody's going, no, you don't have to go. Yes, I do. Dad and I made a deal. I got to be home at 11. So you got to sacrifice to get any opportunity. I said, if I hadn't done those little things in high school and worked my ass off working out and dragging friends, no, you're going to come out and catch the ball. Let's go. Rain, shine, it didn't matter. You're going to come out and do it. Okay. All these friends of mine. But I tell them, look at cover Sports Illustrated. I got a major scholarship to a major university as a Native American quarterback. Come on. Think about that. American Indian Athletic Hall of Fame. Wouldn't have happened. National Award, Sammy Baugh Trophy, 1970, right? For pass completions per game. I said, none of that would have happened. Being in the movie The Longest Yard, being in a Hawaii 5-0 segment with Jack Lord, being on on the JP Patches show, for Christ's sake.
Hey, stop. That's the best.
There you go. There you go.
But that's kind of the message I like to tell young people is that, you gotta do your studies, but you got to take care of yourself and put yourself above everybody else in the bad way, being out late, doing things you shouldn't really be doing anyway. So anyway, that helped me, having a dad who said, "Hey, see you at 11." But that same dad, the next day, "Hey, get up. We're going to watch this game at 1:00."
Yeah.
It's kind of like you, Jack.
Yeah.
I remember sitting at the dining room table when I was in junior high, listening to the high school football games on a little teeny transistor radio. Listen to Ashland Grizzlies versus Medford Black Tornado.
Wow.
And the Grants Pass Cavemen. Okay. That little transistor we took hunting. We were out Saturday hunting somewhere after a high school game. We'd still listen to that little transistor radio. I should frame that thing if I could find it.
You should.
Anyway, that's kind of my little story about how I, for a little guy. Hey, look at Enrique. I was 5'10" and 160, maybe my senior year in high school.
Wow.
All right. I was little, but Bob Charette and Jim Owens they came down and watched me play basketball a couple times and liked the way I moved and the way I played. And so they offered me a full ride. What are you going to say? No.
Yeah.
Although
It's awesome.
Yeah.
the coach, not the high school, the college coach at Southern Oregon wanted me to come there so bad because they ran the spread offense before the spread offense was even known. They had 5 receivers. Olsen, the quarterback, threw for 5,000 yards, and Big Jack would say, "Sonny, look at this." He brought me out to practice. We could throw for 10,000 yards. I said, You're right. But I'm going to Washington.
Yeah, but you're coming there changed Owens. He went from being a running attack that he had in his offense.
That really happened because of our first game as a freshman. We went over to Martin Stadium before it got burnt down, and our freshman team lost. We had an All-American cornerback named Calvin Jones, who
I remember him.
Recently passed away. Opening kickoff comes, he starts to come up to grab it, lets it go. They come down and pounce on it. We're down 7-0, and the clock hadn't even started. And then we went on to lose 40-7 or something. And I didn't play because I'd hurt my ankle doing the wishbone on that AstroTurf in Husky Stadium, Jack. And they hadn't watered it down, and my foot stuck on that turf. So if you didn't water it down, it would stick. And so I missed that game. But in practice, I'd be out there throwing the ball around. And so the next game, we went down to Oregon and played, and we inserted pass plays. All right. And I remember throwing a 59-yard touchdown pass to Ira Hammond, and that was the end of the story. After that, we never ran the wishbone again in practice or in any game against them, Oregon State, and we played a team out of Canada for the last game. And that spring, Jerry Cheek, and bringing in JC receiver. I think we had 6 JC receivers come in for spring ball. And then that's Tommy Scott, Jimmy Krieg. You remember those names, Jack?
Oh, yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Now,
Blitzkrieg.
Yeah. Jimmy just passed away a few years ago, unfortunately, but a great dude. Guy, he's you could tell he was outside of Buffalo. Tonawanda, New York is where he's from. And just guys like that, the story of how they got to UW. It's just good friends, and still see Tommy Scott and all those guys whenever I can. But yeah, so that was the end of the run game. It was all pass. And then that spring game, I threw 50 passes in the spring game against the alumni. And really, it was it. We never looked back.
Wow. If you had been as tall as Jack, you're 6'3", and Sonny, you're 5'10", a little over 5'10". I understand.
He grew.
Yeah. You probably could have had a chance to play at Oregon State. Didn't DeAndros, who was then the head coach, he was concerned about you being short?
Well, he was concerned about my size overall. And he wanted me to go to junior college and gain some maturity and some size, and then come back. And Oregon, they just said, we're not really interested. So I said, okay.
What did they know?
Yeah. But, you know, I have to tell you, there was a coach at Portland State named Don Reed. And Don Reed ended up going to, God, I think Montana. I think he might have even
he coached at Oregon.
At Oregon.
Head coach.
At Oregon. But he was at Portland State, they ran the spread offense. And so I think Pinky from Everett, he was on the staff there at Wazoo.
Dennis Erickson's father.
Dennis Erickson,
Pinky Erickson. Yeah.
Yep.
All part of that. And so it was, I thought about going to Portland State until they folded their football team my senior year. So that was the end of that story.
Wow. But even after your career ended at the UW, that, you know, the ability to play in the pros, if you had been a bit taller, right, might have. I mean, today you got Kyler Murray, you got Russell Wilson, where, you know, proving that you don't have to be 6'3"
exactly
to be a great quarterback.
Yeah, well, those guys are phenomenal athletes and can run. I wasn't really known as a runner, although I did get a touchdown run against the Cougs in Seattle my junior year.
He doesn't want to rub it in, but yeah.
Well, Greg Collins, the backup quarterback, had been running this sweep in practice. Unfortunately, he couldn't find his helmet or something, and the kid came in with the play, and it was a sweep. I went, I'm still in here. Let's run. Let's go. So it ended up being a 34-yard touchdown. I ran the play and we scored.
Wow.
Leg Sixkiller.
There you go. There you
I give him the old, hey, Jack, I give him the old limp leg move around the corner.
That's a good one. The old limp leg.
You remember that one, Garth? And no, yeah, it worked.
Sonny, what kind of relationship did you have with Jim Owens? Because, you know, Jim Owens, and during his time, he was, well, as Jack noted, he was an intimidating guy. He had clashes with these black players during the time in the late 60s. What kind of relationship did you have with him? Was he loosening up any when you came in?
He, to me, he was always, I mean, he was tough in practices and stuff like that. That's the way it was in those days, you know?
Yeah.
Shoot, my high school coach was tough. So, you know, he demanded physicality and accountability and all those things. And Jim was that way. But, you know, every time I went out to warm up before practice, J.O. would come out and run routes for me. You know,
wow.
He loved to come out and play catch. And, you know, because he was an old tight end at Oklahoma, right, with DeAndros, and
right
when they won the national championship in 1950. And so it's he still, I said, Coach, they didn't throw the ball to you in those days. You were a blocking tight end. You know, who are you kidding here?
Yeah.
No, I had a good relationship all the way through. And as a captain, my next 2 years, Billy Cahill and I, as co-captains, would get to meet with him quite often, and, you know, share concerns from the team. What can we do?
Free safety, right?
Free Billy was a safety. Billy, yep, number 18.
He was stud. Remember he had the purple helmet. I mean, right? Some of the guys got awarded the purple helmet.
Yeah. Before they changed the rule, but we had a purple helmet for going 110% in practice and in games and off the field as well. And so you got awarded a purple helmet.
Wow. Special
prestige on the team, and a lot of respect from all the teammates if you had a purple helmet. And people, like Jack says, if you played against us, our defense would hit you. I mean, they were tough. I mean, they played tough. If you knew Mel Thompson and some of those defensive coaches, you know that they played tough.
Yes, they did. Jim Lambright.
Yeah, Jim Lambright. Jim Lambright came in, got an assistant coaching job in 1969, my freshman year at the U.
Wow.
So he had graduated, come back, and that was his first coaching job, full time. Was the same year I came to school.
That became his life.
Lifer.
Yeah, he was a lifer. He was very much a lifer.
Oh yeah, Jim and I were good friends for sure.
Good man. Good man.
You mentioned Calvin Jones. Actually, he was a guy I used to look at because he was only 5'7", and I think he went on to play in the pros. You know,
he did. Denver Broncos.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Calvin was a great for his size and quickness. He could jump out of the sky, man. That guy had the leaps. And I told somebody else this recently. We played against Dan Fouts in Oregon in Husky Stadium my senior year. And Dan threw 3 passes to a guy named Greg Specht in the end zone. They were about the 10 or 11 yard line. All 3 times, Calvin, boom, swatted him away 3 times in a row. And I sit there going, why the hell is he throwing against Calvin? Throw the other guy. I look around and the other guy was standing next to me. Bill Andre. He goes, what the hell are you talking about? I said, Phil, you know what I meant. Calvin's an All-American. You're not, okay?
Yeah.
So, Jack, did you have any? I know you didn't win in any Apple Cups, but were there any moments that were great moments for you in those games, or the fact that you guys didn't do well just made it a bad experience?
Well, it wasn't a bad experience. Again, when you play at that level, of football, you relish the thought of playing against the best, against great competition. And for sure, any Don James coached team filled that bill. I mean, they were going to be prepared and they were going to compete their asses off, and they had talent, they had depth. But for me, my sophomore year was 76. We played in Joe Albee, that wonderful stadium called Joe Albee. And we threw for a ton of yards. That was right where the league, the Pac-8 at the time, was going through an evolution. It started with Sonny, really, and then when it came to my team of 76, I mean, we threw the ball all over the place, and we competed against teams we weren't supposed to compete against. We played against USC Trojans in the Kingdom, and we went toe to toe with those guys. They were 30-point, they were favored by 30 points or more, but we just took them to the wire. But then when we played in that Apple Cup, I think we had 5 touchdown passes, and we put up a lot of yards, a lot of points, but they put up more points. and in the meantime, beat the crap out of us. But we fought as hard as we could, and like I said, I don't want to give excuses, but they were pretty good. They were a pretty good team. The Huskies were under Don James.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up here, I'll give you a chance to each make a prediction. Sonny?
Well, I think that the Huskies will prevail by a touchdown.
All right.
For me, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I was asked this question before. Because of the circumstances being what they are, because of this senior class, an opportunity to exercise those demons that we talked about earlier, I believe that they're going to be victorious, like 30-14. I just think that we're going to get our running game, which we have not had against the Huskies the whole time Mike Leach was there, but I believe we will. Our running game, which is shown to be pretty good this year, will be the difference maker, and Jaden DeLaura will fill in, in the quarterbacking role as he's done the whole year, and light it up. That's my hope, anyway.
All right.
Well, I give hope because our run defense against Colorado actually came to the game, and I think that was a nice warm up for the Apple Cup.
There you go.
Well, hey, before we go, I have to thank Jack again because it's one of my fondest memories of the quarterback challenge that Jack was part of setting up at Lake Coeur d'Alene in 1995, and right. I brought my son Cool Breeze with me, and
Cool
Breeze,
and he is all that. Trust me.
Was that Casey?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Casey,
we had a good
leader.
time, and
yeah.
But I always tell people that it was amazing weekend with all these former NFL quarterbacks, and I love meeting Sonny Jorgensen and Carl. Gosh, I just thought of Morrell.
Oh, Earl Morrell.
Earl Morrall.
Yeah.
Still had the crew cut and everything. I mean,
yeah.
It was
That was a fun weekend.
It was. Then Rip coming up on his ski-doo or something and comes ashore over at the house, and I'm going, Jesus, this is amazing. Just so much fun. So Jack, how many years ago was that? 26?
That was a long time ago. You're right.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun. It was a great outing, and we might be doing that again, Sonny. So be ready.
All right. Let's do it.
Yeah, warm up the arm there, Sonny. Can you?
There you go.
Do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
You too, Jack. Think you can do it?
No.
No.
No. That was a quick answer, right?
Yeah,
No.
there you go. All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to
It's
join
such an
us.
honor to talk to both of you.
It
guys.
really is. And
Thank
like
you.
I said, Sonny, you really were someone that from my days, and I'm a little younger than you, but we did look up to you. You did give first brown guys over in the Valley. We looked up to you, and of course, Jack, you always know that I think you're the diehard Coug, and what is it? You haven't missed a home game in 17 years, something like that.
That is correct.
There you go. Wow, that's
Hey,
a lot of miles to drive over there.
Yeah, a lot of miles.
Jack is the #1 ambassador for Wazoo and Coug Nation. There's without a doubt.
He truly
Nobody
is.
can even come close
Yeah.
to that man right there. Jack is by far the best ambassador for his school.
Yeah.
So
Thanks, Sonny.
Well, this
Come
state
from you,
is
that means something.
this state has been very honored to have both you guys represent the major universities here, because you've done it so well and you gave us a lot of great memories. Thank you so much. And
Thanks, you guys.
I won't say go Cougs, but go Cougs. All right.